Hello, in this video I'm going to rank the Child's Play franchise as a whole. Warning, there will be spoilers ahead, so if you have not watched them and you plan to, now's your chance to stop watching this video. So let's begin with my bottom picks. Now, I want to mention that I'm a huge fan of the Child's Play franchise. Just because a movie is on this list at the bottom does not mean I did not like it. I like every single one of these movies almost equally. Like, when I watch them, I have to watch all of them. I don't just watch the ones I like and skip the ones I don't. With that said, my bottom pick is probably the 2019 remake of Child's Play. The reason why is because it was a great movie. I liked it a lot. Mark Hamill did a really good job as Chucky. Sadly, I feel like they were playing more on the nostalgia of Chucky, and it could have been its own separate movie. And I know a lot of people on YouTube have said that, but it's very true. If you have never seen a Child's Play movie, and this is your introduction into that world, well, it really is very different than the rest of the entire series. And that's mainly because they removed the whole voodoo aspect. Honestly, I was spoiled going into this, and it was hard not to be. I couldn't afford to go see it when it came out in theaters, and I had to wait for it to come out on Blu-ray. Not only that, I also live in a town where I have a small theater that will only show 3 movies at a time, and they weren't showing the remake. So the closest place for me to go would have been Bismarck, which would have costed me a lot of money to drive all the way to Bismarck just to go see a movie for 2 hours by myself. Not something I'm willing to do or can afford to do. So what I was really hoping for was that they still could have fit in the whole psycho killer theme. With the way technology is and the way technology is growing, they could have changed it and made it where some killer had broken into the factory and was cornered by the cops and used some experimental technology that they were using to build the dolls to download his brain into the doll that would end up becoming Chucky. That would have been a good idea for them to do, but they didn't go that route. Instead, they try to make you feel sorry for the new doll, and that just didn't really work as well in my eyes. Again, not saying it's a bad movie. It had some really good effects, and it had some really interesting plot points, but it wasn't great. I really do hope that this movie will get a sequel one day, but from the sounds of it, it's very unlikely. Moving on. Next, I would have to say my next pick would probably be Seed of Chucky, only due to the fact that there was way too much comedy. This did set up some things really well, and there was a lot of comedic moments, and I do like that we got to see way more Jennifer Tilly in this movie. Growing up, I had a huge crush on Jennifer Tilly, and I think most fans of the series, it'd be hard for them not to have a crush on Jennifer Tilly. But moving on, I really liked the addition of Glenn and Glenda, and I was so hopeful that they would have done more with it and corrected some of the issues, but we will get more into that later in the video when I do my final thought. Next for me, I would have to say Cult of Chucky. Of the newer Chucky movies, I really did like this. I like the whole fact that now he could possess multiple dolls, but there was some issues holding it back. For me, I really was upset with, I thought Andy was going to be a bigger part of it. I knew they were going to deal with Nika, but I didn't think she was going to be like the main focus. I wanted to see more of Andy and what he had been up to, and we hardly got any of that. I really hope that they are going to bring him back, but again, keep that in mind as I go into my final thought. The next one on the list is probably for me, Bride of Chucky. Now, Bride of Chucky was a great movie. It was one of the first ones I ever saw in theaters. Most of the others, in fact, all the first 3, I had only seen them on video. Bride of Chucky was the first one I got to see in theaters. and I loved it. I've seen it so many times. Again, it was way too humorous. And I love the stuff with Chucky, and I love the stuff with Tiffany. It was the Kincaids. While that was an interesting story, I felt like it could have been handled differently, and it just didn't really keep me drawn in. Every time they were on screen dealing with them, let Chucky and Tiffany do something. Please bring Chucky and Tiffany in. Could they kill somebody already? And I just didn't like having to wait through the scenes to get to more Chucky and Tiffany. So that's why it's this far down the list for me. Next up is Child's Play 3. Now, after my dad rented Child's Play 2, I remember that we went to Blockbuster, and I had begged the Blockbuster employee to please not let them make a Child's Play 3. Sure enough, before we left that Blockbuster, there was an ad on the TV, a trailer for Child's Play 3. Now, I was really young. At this point in my life, Child's Play 1 and 2 scared the crap out of me. Partly because my sister, she had a doll called Patty Play Pal, which basically was a female version of Chucky. In fact, I swear they could have used that doll for Bride of Chucky. That's how close to Chucky this doll was. Why Child's Play 3 is this far down my list is due to the fact that this felt more like a military comedy rather than another Chucky, which I get was the idea, and it's fine, but it just didn't quite hit me, I guess, as best as some of the others, although I still enjoy it. And I quote a lot of lines from Chucky from this movie. Moving on. Next, I would have to say probably would be Curse of Chucky. Now, the reason why Curse of Chucky is here is because I like how it went back to a darker tone. I like how they did the whole reveal of Chucky. The biggest problem for me, and actually since Bride of Chucky, this has been a major issue for me, is Chucky didn't look like Chucky at all. I don't know if it's because they stopped using practical effects or what, but it just seemed like after Child's Play 3, when the doll is stationary and just a doll, it doesn't feel like a good guy doll anymore. And part of it too for me is when they don't have the audio that was originally used for the good guy dolls, and they have clearly re-recorded audio. Now, again, like I said, I love these movies, but one of the biggest disappointments that I felt Curse of Chucky had is this was a very incredible, unique opportunity that either Universal, Netflix, or Don Mancini passed up on. And what I'm talking about is we should have gotten two versions of this film. And what I mean by that is the movie would start out as it does. But then, as soon as the rest of that family shows up, it should have switched from being a regular movie to being a movie that's POV, that you don't want to watch until after you've watched the movie the regular way, or on Netflix the regular way, all the way through. Because the rest of this movie being in POV would be something that is revealed in the movie later on, where basically it's like, wait a minute, we could have been watching the movie from Chucky's point of view, like we saw back in the first movie, and you didn't give that to us? Are you insane? That would have been freaking awesome. Being able to switch and watch the movie from Chucky's point of view the whole way, that's one of my major gripes with it. Just that. I fully say it was worth spending the $25 to get it on Blu-ray, because I bought it brand new the day it came out. I didn't even wait for it to show up on Netflix. I was at Walmart at midnight on Tuesday to pick it up on Blu-ray. Even though it came out at like 2 in the morning the same day, I was like, no, I'm going to get it early. I'm going to get it 2 hours earlier. What made that so worth it is the Blu-ray alternate ending, which is actually the canonical ending, which, if you've seen it, that 5-minute scene was so worth it to me. So that's why it's in this spot. 2 contenders remaining. And I'm going to have to put the original in the number 2 spot. And the reason why the number 2 spot gets the original is because, well, yes, this is where we get the birth of Chucky, and we get things set up for the rest of the franchise. A lot of the movie is spent not knowing if Chucky is alive, which is fine and good, and it is a nice change when compared to the next one, where Chucky, you know, is alive by this point. But man, once Chucky gets revealed to be alive and he starts, that's when the movie gets really good. I really would have liked to have seen a little bit more. And if they had done a remake, they should have just done a straight up remake. Or they should have included some extra stuff. Like I said, what we got is fine. If they wanted to move away from the voodoo, that's fine too. That's their choice. They could have done it with technological instead of voodoo. The original is still a really good movie, and to this day, I still love watching it. So finally, we get to the last one, my number 1 pick, and yep, you've already probably guessed it. Like most Chucky fans, I'm going to have to say, number 2 is probably the best. I don't know if it'll ever be dethroned as the best of Chucky, but number 2, we basically learn right away that Chucky is alive. Although I do want to point out something that not many people have pointed out, which I find very interesting, is everybody talks about how they rebuilt the doll at the beginning. And I'm watching them do this. Yet every time we see a good guy doll, it doesn't have teeth. Not real teeth. But they're like rubber teeth. But this doll had real teeth. And nobody questioned it. Nobody said, hey, why does this doll have real teeth? Now, I get the beginning with the electrical shock, which I guess not many people do get. And it was saying that a part of his soul was still hiding inside the eyes of the doll. And it's supposed to play on the eyes or the window to the soul, which is why once the eyes go in and the machine becomes electrified, it's like Frankenstein. He's being resurrected. In fact, when that guy goes crashing through the window, I've always felt like that was Chucky screaming, not that guy. It sounds more like Chucky screaming. As I'm sure you know, if you've seen it, Chucky is back. He immediately goes to try to find Andy. We get a ton of great stuff along the way, leading up to probably the best part of the movie in the factory. I really loved, and that was just such a great scene. I mean, I wouldn't have changed a single thing about it. I loved it so much. It also, Child's Play 2 had some of the best quotable lines, and as I became a fan, and as I grew to love Chucky and stop being afraid of Chucky, mainly once my sister got rid of her Patty Play Pal doll, or it could have been the fact that me and my dad would prank my sister with that doll a lot because she was more afraid of Chucky than I was. I eventually grew to love Chucky, understand why he is such an effective killer as a doll, and I couldn't believe it took till he was in Seed of Chucky to finally realize, hey, you know, I'm better off being a doll. I know a lot of people have said, oh, if Chucky was real, I'd do this or I'd do that. I'd be like, no. You'd be, like, freaking out, like, struck dumb, because you'd be like, wait, that doll is walking and talking and holding a knife. That's not normal. There's something strange about that. And before you have time to think about what you could be doing instead of freaking out, he's probably stabbing you. So, the things I said I wanted to come back to, I'm moving to my final thoughts now, which is going to be more of a pitch. So, here's what I'm hopeful of as the franchise goes on. We know that we're getting a TV series, which is going to involve new characters, and it's going to happen in another town. And through the TV series, we're going to get some depth into Chucky's past, his childhood. Now, first off, I really hope they don't try to make us feel bad for him. If they do that, they are going to completely ruin the character. Actually, what I'd love to see is, and as a little boy, he killed his father. I would love to see that the mother was the biggest influence in his life, or maybe even the mother killed the father, and she was very into like the supernatural. Basically, I want her to have set up how Chucky met John. I want to see Chucky meeting John and beginning to teach him the ways of voodoo. I would also like to see Tiffany, a much younger, next door neighbor girl, always following Chucky around, being one of the first to witness what Chucky did, and falling in love with him at such a young age. I think this would really set up. Plus, we could actually see maybe him kill her mother, which is still one of my favorite lines from Bride of Chucky to this day. As for the final two movies, I posted some fan theories as to what I'd like to see on some channels that have talked about Chucky in the past. For me, one of the things I would love to see is this. So, Kyle meets up with Andy and Mike. Mike was the cop from Child's Play 1. In fact, you know what? Honestly, sorry, I'm going to just say right now, I'm not going to say where the character's from. If you've made it this far into the video, hopefully you're a big enough fan to know characters by name, because these are going to be some very big characters. So, Andy, Kyle, they meet up with the Kincaids, and they're en route to meet up with someone else. And someone keeps calling them throughout the movie, reporting Nika's and Jennifer's current location. As the movie goes on, we basically follow the main group, and we keep cutting back and forth between the main group, Chucky, Jennifer, Tiffany, and Nika. Each on their own little adventure, going across the country by car, stopping in this town and that town, killing this person, that person. Well, in the car with Andy and his group, there's a metal box containing the head of Chucky. And the person they eventually meet up with is driving a van, a very familiar van. And it turns out that it's Tyler and the other Kincaid, as well as Andy's mother. Now, all these people have come together, and they plan to finish Chucky once and for all. They're going to track the group down, corner them, and have a full-out battle with them. Well, Tyler, aside from having a lot of ammunition in the van, he also has a metal box. But we never find out what's in the box. At least not in the first movie, because they've talked about making 2 more movies. Basically, the second movie starts off with they're still tracking him across the country. Now, Chucky's group makes it to California. And throughout the movie, there's been somebody following Andy's group. And right as they're about to get ready to go in for the final assault on Chucky, Andy's group captures this person. Turns out it's the human version of Glenn. And he's like, look, I'm not here to fight you guys. I'm here to help you. I know exactly where my father and mother are going. I know what they're trying to do. I want to help you. The reason why is because they have to be stopped. And Andy's like, okay. So he takes him along with. Well, it turns out that Play Pal Toys was shut down after the incident of Child's Play 3. They went out of business, but the toys that they made never got sold. They've been collecting dust in a giant warehouse in Northern California. So Chucky, Tiffany, Nika, and Jennifer, they all meet up, or they all go to this warehouse. That's an old storage facility of Play Pal toys. And inside, you guessed it, hundreds, if not thousands, of Chucky dolls. Good guy dolls. Just ready for Chucky to start taking over. By the time Andy and his group show up, That's actually what he's done. And there is an army of good guy dolls, all at Chucky's disposal. Now, for the rest of this movie, there's a huge battle. Chucky has also been building an arsenal of guns and knives, and they have to fight. They lose a couple people along the way, but ultimately it comes down to Nika, Chucky, Andy, Tiffany, and the Kincaids are dead. Mike and Andy's mother are injured. Tyler, he's still alive. Kyle is injured. And basically, Andy has to kill Chucky. Has to stab Chucky in the heart. Now, the reason why he has to do this is because, if you remember from Child's Play 1, Chucky said the only person he could put his soul into was Andy, because Andy was the first one that found out about his secret. What if the same worked in reverse? What if Andy was the only one who could ever kill Chucky, because he was the one who first found out about Chucky? I mean, John didn't have a lot of time to say much. He just had enough time to barely tell them about the heart. So, what if Andy all this time has been the key and the only one who could have killed Chucky? So, Chucky has to kill Nika, and all the other dolls are destroyed. That's when we find out what's in the box. And we watch Andy stab the final good guy doll through the heart. Basically, turning kind of Chucky into Voldemort. Without his Horcruxes, Chucky's finally dead. I think that would be a great way to end the series. A great way to finish out the franchise. It could have a lot of laughs. It could have a lot of scares. It could do so much with that plot line. But that's basically my rant for what I'd like to see as my final thoughts for the final movies. As a gesture of good faith, I'm giving away this code to the 2019 remake. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world. And for every 10 subscribers I get right now, I'm giving away a free digital code to a movie. I buy a lot of movies and I almost never use the digital codes. If I get more subscribers, I will have more codes go up at the end of each video that you can use to get yourself a free movie. Also, I am the writer of the series The Guardian of Light, which has a lot of horror Easter eggs in it. So, if you're a fan of fantasy and you like a great story, check out my series The Guardian of Light, available on Amazon. I want to thank you all for watching, and have a great day. If you liked this content, if you liked my ranking video, please give it a like and subscribe for your chance to get future codes and more. Also, if there's a franchise or a series of movies that you would like me to do a ranking video on, please feel free to comment below or to hit me up on Twitter or Facebook on my pages and request something. As a special treat, here is another piece for the book reveal cover, the book cover reveal for The Guardian of Light 4, coming out very soon.